Hello bass family and welcome to Everything Bass. Well, today I'm actually starting something that I've talked about in previous videos, but it took me a time to get the machinery in place. But one of my favorite things to do with my private students is to improvise with them. And I'll play chords, and whatever scale or arpeggio we're working on, I give them a chance to just play off of my chords with drum beats and stuff. And they get a lot of things. First of all, they get personal experience with whatever theoretical concept we're working on, and they can develop their own relationship with the scale or the chord, or they'll learn how to play through progressions. But two, they get a sense of being in a band, and they get a chance to play off of the time and whatnot. So I've always wanted to add that to Everything Bass, but it takes a little time. So today we're starting with the major triads jam. And I know some teachers hate the phrase jam, but all it really is I'm going to give you a 3-chord progression over 4 bars. And I'm going to guide you. In fact, this series will be called Guided Improvisation. And it's to give you, I use the term loosely, but restrictions. Sometimes if you improvise, if you have a progression and you play over it just doing whatever you want, that's where we usually don't grow as fast. We might grow as players, but we don't grow as fast. But when I can, as a teacher, say, hey, just play these notes over this progression, and it's going to force you out of muscle memory, and it's going to make you think. And one of the things about improvisation, people might have the misconception that improvisation, you're just lost in it. And after certain decades of doing it, yeah, that's probably true. But initially, you have to really be cognizant. You have to be intentional. You have to be thinking, here's this chord, I'm going to do this. Here's this chord, I'm going to do this. And that's a skill that has to be developed, and it's not impossible. It's one of the most enjoyable practices that I've ever gone through, was developing my improvisational skills. And that's what I want to do with you. So guided improv, I'm going to give you a progression, and I'm going to give you like assignments on how to practice it. Now, I realize that not everyone's able to either play bass chords or have someone play keyboards or guitar for them. So there's a couple things. One is, I did do a video on how to play bass chords, and it's just called bass chords. I think so. Search through my channel, find how to play chords on the bass or something like that. I can't remember what I called it, and it'll show you how to play primary simple chords on the bass and give you some tips like performance-wise. And if you can record yourself playing this progression, fine. That's great. Like even on your cell phone or something, record it so you can play it back and then improvise over it. If you have a looping pedal, even better. I'm going to show you how I use my looping pedal and set up a loop with the progression. And lastly, because I know maybe some people just don't want to play the chords on the bass, but this is something they want to work on. For my Patreon supporters, if you go to my Patreon page, the link is in the description below, and you become a Backstage Pass member, which only costs $8 a month, I'll have a WAV file of a better version than what I'm actually going to let you hear today of the progression. It's 2 minutes long, just repeats for 2 minutes, that you can actually download. And WAV files play on almost every device. Let me know if your device doesn't. Message me or comment anywhere. On the comment down here, on this video. On Patreon, you can actually comment on the post. So whatever, just let me know if WAV files aren't working for you, and I will, convert them to an MP3. The reason I like WAV files is those of you who do have like a DAW system or any system where you can import waves, then you can actually record over it. It's a lot more usable. But it is fairly universal. So there's a couple ways. If you have a looper, let's talk about this. So I'm going to play the loop. The chord progression is quite simple. It's G major triad for a measure, C major triad for a measure, D major triad for a measure, and then back to G major triad. There's a couple things. I chose just majors. This is the 1, 4, 5 in G. So the G is the 1 chord, the 4 chord is C, the 5 chord is D. And one of the things I did is I had the first measure and the second measure be the same, because one skill in improv that you need to develop is to feel 4-bar phrases. Now what happens a lot of times, so this is our G chord, C chord, D chord, G chord. What happens a lot of times is as you get kind of lost in the study, you play the first 2 chords, you come back to this G chord, but in your mind you think it's the 1 chord. So then all of a sudden you start playing the G once, and when you go here you play the C chord, but now you're off. It's an important skill to be able to feel 4 measures and get used to, because a lot of our songs that we improvise start and end on the same chord. So I purposely put that in this way so that you would develop that skill. So here's the loop. I'm just going to play the loop. That's the G chord. Then there's the C chord. There's the D chord. G chord. I played it up octave higher. Now comes back down to the beginning. Okay. So this progression, a couple things. I kept the tempo slow because I want it to be encouraging for you to do some of the assignments I'm going to give you. And at faster tempos, if you're not familiar with playing major triads, it can be quite tricky. If you don't know your fingerboard very well, it can be hard. So I kept the tempo slow. There's going to be portions where I'm going to want you to come up with your own bass line and with your own rhythm ideas. Well, if I use my, what sounds like a guitar is actually my piccolo bass, but if I was to put a bunch of rhythms in there, then that would maybe influence what you would play, which is a good skill to develop. But I want to, in these first couple of improvs, I just want to blanket the chord. So it's a tonality with no rhythmic content so that you have the freedom to play with time and kind of develop your own style. All right, so there you have it. There's the progression. Let me give you your assignments. And this is also written on the music. So if you do become a Patreon subscriber, go to Guided Improv 1, Major Triads. That's the post. Go to that post and you'll see the sheet music and the guided prompts, what I'm going to tell you to do with it, as a PDF. And then also you'll see the WAV file and you can download the WAV file and play along. I'm really excited to see what you guys think of this. All right, so the first assignment, if you will, is play a quarter note only bass line starting each measure with the root and head up in pitch, head up in pitch. So what that's going to sound like is kind of like you're going to be playing a walking bass line. And I like to, since it's a 3-note triad and we have 4 quarter notes, I'm going to play root 3, 5 octave. So here we go. Now you might go, well, that's not too much improv, that's just playing the triad. Well, we have to walk before we can run. And if you're unfamiliar with the triad, please just go on my channel and look how to play major triads. I think I just called it major triad. And it'll show you what a major triad is. You can download the chart, the neck diagram so you can see it. But initially, yeah, I just want you to kind of map out, get the sound in your ears, hear what it sounds like to play root up to the octave in quarter notes. I'm taking away rhythmic variations. I'm just wanting you to play on quarter notes. And on my loop here, it's a hi-hat. On the recorded wave, you'll just hear it as a drum beat and you'll kind of feel the quarter note. But that's important. Now, if you're doing that and you're like, well, Dale, that's way too easy. Well, try like every time the progression repeats, grab another section of the bass. Like maybe try the G here, play the C here, play the D here. Just so you know how to play that all over the fingerboard. That's guided assignment number 1. Number 2 is play a quarter note only bass line, starting each measure with the octave and head down. So it's the inverse. So you're just going to go. I have a funny feeling through my history of teaching bass that a lot of students don't practice starting on the octave going down. So that when they play a descending line, if they're even going to, because it's not something they practice, it feels foreign to them. So I'm having you play from the root up and the octave down, simple improv. Now, number 3, we start to get a little more exciting. And one is play an 8th note only bass line staying above the 8th fret. Oh, below the 8th fret, sorry. An 8th note only means I want you to play 8 notes evenly spaced in every measure. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You're going to play 8 notes, which are 8th notes. And you're going to, now you can like start on the root, start on the octave, you can do whatever you want. A couple things that might make this easier is to how to visualize the triad. If you play the major triad up to the 5th, and then you take your middle finger and go to the octave, on a 4-string bass, you have the 3rd and the 5th again. So it's like play it, go up an octave, play it. That can really lengthen out your bass. Now I just played 8 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now because I showed you this fingering because it helps you visualize, but in reality, if I know I'm going to go past the octave, I'll play the middle index, slip up, go middle, ring, index, pinky. So you see how I did that? That's a really easy way to play a bunch of notes in a triad. Now when you go to the C, you don't have the notes above. Now you could do that, but also realize that the fifth of every major triad is right below the root. So here we have the C, the fifth is a G, but we can play the G down here. And on this one, we also could play the open E, because that's the octave below the third. So we could do a thing where we go like, all right, that's 8 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And of course, same thing can be done with the D, but you don't have the open. There's the F sharp. There's the third right there. So the idea is trying to find what's called full position playing. What are all the notes beyond and above the octave and below the root that you can play in this triad without adding notes that are not part of the triad? We want to only play triad tones. That's going to train our ear. It's going to give us mental discipline. And it should reveal like how the cool things you can do with the triad, even though you might initially go, well, it's just 3 notes, it's boring. Well, it's only boring because you haven't made it exciting. So try that. So over the time, the sequence, just playing like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and I'm going to play from the octave. I should say this. Play from the octave and go down the C. Now the D. Staying below the 8th fret gives us a focused area to work out and farm, and there's a lot to be done there. The next one, number 4, is playing 8th note only bass line, same exercise, but now above the 8th fret. You're going to have to come up here, here's our 8th fret, come up here and go, okay, well, I can play the G. Now the C I can play here, but that's the 8th fret. So one thing you can do to still use this is don't play the major third here like you normally do, put it on the same string as the root. And then you've got the D. You can, again, now you don't have to worry about it. You could go back to the standard D fingering and then the G. You can also jump up to this G. You see the value of that? By putting in a restriction, playing only below the 8th fret, playing only above the 8th fret. If it's challenging, first of all, stop the metronome, stop the sequence, whatever. Don't put that pressure on you and work it out. Actually figure it out. I remember when this was exercise given to me and I was doing the C, but the 8th fret was the lowest I go. It forced me to learn this pattern, which opened new avenues. What's nice about it, by opening up your hand and playing the C triad like this, when you come to the D triad, the root's right there. See how I didn't have to do big shifts. They overlaid each other and it made it really cool to play. Now lastly, and this is really the dessert at the end of the meal, you've done the foundation. You've played the simple quarter note triad from the root to the octave, the triad from the octave down to the root, and you've played 8 notes below the 8th fret and above the 8th fret. Now, freely improvise. Using any rhythmic devices you want, go anywhere on the bass you want. With the wave file, since the rhythm is just quarter note hi-hat, there's no implied rhythm, the chords are just block chords, whole note chords, this is a chance for you to figure out what you want to do. If you want to be super funky, that's cool. If you want to be a little more like dramatic, there's so much you can do there. I actually challenge the more advanced players to don't like blow by this and not do it. There is so much you can improve about your more harmonically rich soloing and improvisation by just really strengthening up your command of the triads. I love something that Steve Vai once, he was being interviewed, and he said if you can do a lot with great things with 1 or 2 notes, then when you have freedom to play all the notes available, that will be greater. And it really impressed me, like taking time and really learning how you can take 3 notes of a major triad and make something really cool. Then when you have carte blanche to use any scale in the world, that will be elevated. That plane will be elevated because it'll be on a really strong foundation of understanding how to improv with triads. So I'm very stoked, guys. I'm very excited. I also am kind of making a theme of the Encore Item today. The Encore Item today is Jerry Coker's book, The Complete Method for Improv for All Instruments. It's a great book. And this is a good time to maybe kind of approach your improv multiple ways. Follow these videos, it's going to be the guided improv series. So guided improv 1, guided improv 2. Go through the entire series. Really take time. Spend a lot of time. This could be at the end of your practice time where you practice all your scales, your technique, your sight reading, your ear training, and end with improv. One is you're really warmed up. Also, you might be a little tired. And in my experience, when you're a little bit tired, you don't second guess yourself. You kind of just, you're a little more free in your playing, and that's the best part. But yeah, this book, reading through it, Jerry's, kind of the president of improv. I mean, he's established himself as an expert in the field, and he does the same thing as I'm trying to do, where he gives you like a guided approach to improvisation. The very nature of improv means, do whatever you want, improv, make it up on the fly. But there's still rules, and I use the term rules because sometimes it's good to know the rules so you know when you can break it, but purposely, intentionally, not make an accident, not make a mistake. We all want to have confidence in your improv, and the book and the exercises that Jerry has will support you on that. And hopefully what I'm going to do with this guided improv series will also support you in this. So I'm very excited. I'm so finally happy to be able to have WAV files that you guys can download. So they're there for you, and I'm excited to know what you think. Please comment below. How's this process? What could I do to make it better? Keep in mind that as we get more complex and as the improvs get deeper, I'm going to present WAV files that have more rhythmic, like you're going to have to match me. Be aware also, I'm going to give you a progression with one rhythmic style and same progression with a variety of rhythmic styles so that you will have to adjust your improv to match the situation. My nightmare is I don't want guys to always play the exact same thing over a Latin that they do over a funk tune or they do a metal tune. I want them to be always listening to the other players. And also, I've already got commitments with some of the best players in my area that as we get better and better, the actual WAV files will be real players, not just me playing all the parts, so that it'll really hopefully support a band element. So I'm very excited about this. Guided Improv 1, Major Triad Jam, and the amazing book, The Complete Method for Improvisation by Jerry Coker. All right, love you guys. I hope this is a new, exciting area for you to get into. I hope it fills a need, and I'm anxious to hear what you think. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Subscriptions to the channel is free. If you just go down and hit the little subscribe button and hit the bell icon, it's free. It takes just a second, but it really helps. It's really, so I'm learning more and more how important it is to have a lot of subscribers, have them hit that bell icon. Give me a little thumbs up if you think this is good. Also, I judge the thumb ups, the likes on the videos to helps me say, okay, this is good. I need to do more of this. That's why you see like long series in certain of my series, is because they continue or liked, and I want to support what you guys are enjoying. Thank you so much, guys. I look forward to our next time together. Please give this a shot and let me know how it goes, and I will see you in the next video.